Well, first of all, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. I don't know if you guys saw from my email, it wasn't very clear this afternoon, but it's probably gonna be a shorter meeting. It's more updates than anything. Francois is gonna join to give a quick update on the Knife and a Half Street murals. They've done a number of things since we last met with them. So they're going to update them. And then I just wanted to go run through, and I don't need to read through it if you guys have already read through it, but just wanted to go through everything that's kind of we talked about last time and that's kind of pending and going on, as well as to give you guys a heads up on. There's been another number of people that have reached out to me directly around proposals and ask for the future that weren't prepared for today, but will be coming to us in May with some things. So wanted to run through that, and if you guys have obviously anything or questions or ideas or things that we need to prioritize, definitely want to make sure we're adding that to the list of things. And let me see if I can pull up my list and share it with you guys. Hi, Karen.
Hey, Al.
How are you this evening?
I'm excellent. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. I was just sharing that. I think this is probably going to be a shorter meeting. Francois is going to be joining us in a minute to give us a quick update on the Knife and a Half mural project that we talked about last time, and then just had a bunch of updates that I wanted to run through that I sent out earlier, just to give you guys a sense of what's happening, as well as talk about anything that may be on anyone's mind, and things that we want to prioritize for the next few weeks.
Oh, excellent. I'm glad that you were able to get the information out to the community about the ranked choice voting. I want to,
Yes.
that was really, really great, especially with everything coming up on the 8th of June and the 16th of June. So that's really, really important.
I'm going to say I feel like it's coming up quickly.
I know, exactly.
I'm going to share my screen really quickly if I can find the document. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's coming up.
Perfect.
Yes, I can see it.
So let's go ahead and we can go to number two. We'll come back to number one once Francois joins. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of this, but it's in on the calendar of ANC 1B as well as the city's calendar. Saturday is the 10th annual Mayor Bowser annual spring cleanup. And in Ward 1, there's going to be a cleanup at the Banneker Recreation Center on Saturday from 10 to 1 p.m. And there's going to be a number of different projects, and the city will be there to provide supplies and directions. And want to make sure when we're sharing that with folks, I've shared it with the other commissioners, but wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of it. And if you guys are free on Saturday and want to clean up, definitely an opportunity to get involved and participate in that. And I think there's hopefully there's a lot of buzz, and I don't know what the weather's going to be, but hopefully it's nice weather for that. Um,
And one of the key components of this is that they're supposed to have these large dumpsters that
yes.
you can bring really big items, and this is really important. I did tell the Mokers that they should go to a lot of these multi-unit buildings who may not have that ability to dump as often as possible, because it really helps depopulate the rat population that we have going on in our area.
Correct. Good point. I'm going to plan on stopping by. I don't know if anyone else will be at that location. There's locations around the city, so if you're closer to somewhere else or have folks in other wards, definitely I would encourage them about that. Mike, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, it's just a quick question, and I don't know if Karen knows or if there's more information on there. Um, I know in some years past on these cleanups, they've allowed hazardous waste like batteries, old paint cans, and stuff like that. The last one I was at, and this was probably 2 years ago, they did not. It was just as Karen mentioned, like bulk items and stuff like that, like kind of clearing out heavy household items that would not be hazardous waste that would fit that category. Does anyone, I don't know if it's worth exploring, but was there any information on that or any other details?
Well, you
Karen,
know,
I'll let you. Oh, go ahead, Karen. I was going to say,
no,
go ahead.
okay, go ahead. No, I'm going. I'll go first,
Oh, I
and
was
then
gonna say I don't think at this location there is, but there are locations on Saturday as well as other days next week for batteries and electronics, which I can go to the website and send that to this group. Um, Karen, I don't know if you have another
well, yeah, I
information.
mean you're correct, Al, and but RFK is like the main
Yeah.
location. Okay, what they're doing is they have different segments throughout the city. We have this one right here at Banneker, then there's one at Garrison. You know, I can pretty much tell you the layout for the third district. However, I know the main meetup spot where they're going to have a huge collection, which may encompass what you're talking about, Mike. So, and that's at RFK. And so they have a lot of other community partners that are going to be participating that can probably collect those particular goods. Now, it's of course, with everyone being really, really climate conscious, I'm certain that there's going to be something very helpful from the mayor's office. I would suggest, as Al is doing, is to look at the
Yeah.
website to get more information.
And Francois, so you're here, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you if you want to go ahead. I already teed it up a little bit that there's gonna be some updates on the mural project.
Great. Yeah, thanks. I was on earlier, but I was muted. All good though. I've been on the flip side of that a few times as leading my public safety committee meetings. There's so many, it's hard to tell who's on. Yeah, thanks so much, Al, for like letting me share at the top of the meeting some updates on the murals. Some exciting news. We recently applied for Murals DC funding. Um, for painting several murals on The Fold, which is the building at 1999 9.5 Street. We're also in conversations with Community 3 Development about adding a mural potentially to the Thread and the Grimkey building, though we need to consult with a lot more folks, particularly for Grimkey, obviously, because it is historic and there's several different tenants there. Need to check with historic preservation to make sure that they would be all right because while they said they generally don't care about paint, the Grimkey building obviously is particularly significant. So there could be some additional permits that might be needed there. We're also in the process of reaching out to artists for proposals to paint the murals. So if anybody knows of any mural artists that they want to connect us with, that would be awesome. Because we're reaching out to some of them blind, some cold calls, as well as some folks we've been connected with. Karen had a great idea at the last meeting to reach out to um, art programs at Howard University. And Suda, I believe, did send some emails, but hasn't heard anything back yet. So if anybody has any contacts at Howard that I could speak with or Suda could speak with, and that we could then get connected to the art programs through, that would be very helpful. Um, I'll just finish my updates and then happy to take questions. Uh, lastly, or second to last. I spoke with Aaron, who is the president of the U Street Neighborhood Association, and he's really enthusiastic about partnering with us on the murals and helping us disperse funds for the murals. So he's going to brief his members on Thursday. And then our plan is that we are going to submit applications through the ANC's grant application form online. And we're going to submit one application for each specific mural that we're working on. I think that might just be the best way to keep everything distinct and clear so that everyone knows, what the funds are going towards. Um, Also, the U Street Neighborhood Association is going to be seeking funds to paint a garage wall near the Temperance Alley Garden. So they're also going to be submitting an application for a mural that's not on 9.5 Street. And yeah, our goal is to hopefully submit the applications either before the May 7th meeting, which I know is after this meeting, but we're going to see how it works out with timing, or we're going to target the June 4th ANC meeting, try to submit the applications before then so that the ANC can vote on dispersing the funds.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm happy to answer any questions, and thanks again, Al, for letting me talk at the top of the agenda just to share some updates.
Of course, Karen, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, I just was thanking Francois for contacting Murals DC as I recommended because I they've always been really instrumental. Joe Pender, who's a local artist who is
Hmm. Mhm.
he does an excellent job. He does a lot of graphic arts, and then there's and even Mike mentioned it in
Mhm.
the chat that a lot of the artists they do sign their work. Um,
Sure.
I would you already connected with Murals DC. I was also used them as a resource to collect the artists who have done past projects that
Yeah,
has been
thanks.
around the city. I mean, that would be one of the best resources, as well as with Howard University to get a
Mhm.
fresher approach. Um, and again, there's just Google is a your best friend. Instagram is
Yeah,
your best
sure,
friend.
sure. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
in regards to looking up information to see what is out there and then also to see the body of work, their portfolio of work they've done. Um,
Mhm.
and I just will go around the city, see what is resonating with people, and making sure that it's connected with the fabric of the city in regards to looking at particular artwork. You want it to definitely be vibrant because the U Street area is the historical reference for this area is the Black Broadway, keeping it vibrant with the colors, making sure
Mhm.
it's culturally connected. I certainly would, you know, ask you to lean into that a lot.
Yeah, totally, totally. That's thanks for the suggestion for Joe Pender. I'll look him up. I don't know if you know him at all or whether you've just seen his work.
Well, no, I've been knowing him for quite some time, ever since he
Oh.
started. So, but I'm not sure he's probably too fabulous for me now. I haven't connected with him, but I'm sure that he has a
Mhm.
crew that can probably help with that. But I would my biggest suggestion is to go to Murals DC to find out
Yeah,
who their artists are who really likes doing the work of the bigger scale projects.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and again, connecting with the area, the cultural aspect of it, to make sure that all of the artwork that's throughout the U Street area ties into each one of the projects, so that you're not doing something that is completely not adjacent to what the fabric of the area works with. That's what I'm trying to say.
definitely. That's a great suggestion. Yeah, Murals DC has a website where they list out the artists who've received funding, and so definitely my plan was to try to hunt down some of those artists and yeah, and reach out to them to see if they could provide some proposals. So yeah, once we know more, I definitely think it'll be really interesting to review the different proposals and the different ideas for themes. U Street definitely has a lot of history that we would love to promote. Um, So it'll yeah, we'll definitely be talking with artists about that. We'll be talking with the property owners about that and trying to find some designs that really excite and are, are good with everyone that will, add some new landmarks to the area. I think it'll be really nice, in the same way that other neighborhoods in DC have some really iconic murals that kind of put their intersections on the map, so to speak. Obviously, our intersections are already on the map, but I do think that's kind of part of our vision is to really, when you look up a certain intersection or certain place in DC, that this might be one of the first pictures that pops up. It really identifies it and gives it a sense of place.
Yeah, it's extremely helpful. That's the reason why I said make sure you stay in tune with, the what's going on, because you want to be just conscientious of that, and it really does lend itself to people say, as you mentioned, those are the landmarks. They become landmarks, and I've seen them used across the country in various, for various reasons. So I think it's really, really important.
Mike, your hands up.
Yeah, I just got two quick questions, and Commissioner, you may or may not know the answer to some out of curiosity. Do you know if they're moving forward with temperance gardens, or is that staying more of a garden? Because that isn't that where the new development's supposed to eventually be, or are they still keeping a portion like reserved for public space? It's completely offline for the murals, but I always like that area, and I was hoping it would stay a little bit more public area.
Yeah, I spoke with Aaron, who's pretty involved with the garden, and it sounds like there are plans to develop it by the like at the end of the year, roughly. I think it's unclear whether there will be any public space that will be preserved ultimately. Their plan for the mural itself was to be on a garage door that one of their neighbors has volunteered to contribute for public art. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I think the garden may not be with us for too much longer, though that has been said in the past, and they have stayed for a while. We'll just have to see. So yeah, sorry I don't have a more clear answer to your question. You might want to talk to some of the organizers who are involved with the garden, but I do think that yeah, it sounds like at some point in the next couple of years, it's probably going to be developed.
I know there was a huge fight, Mike. There was going to be a development at the 1250 U Street area, and the Temperance Garden was a really big advocacy project during that time period, and they don't own the space, so the people whomever purchased that area will have to say yay or nay if they want to keep that garden in place. So again, as Francois mentioned, there's not really a lot of leeway that they would have if the person who owns the property makes a determination whether or not they would stay based on whatever the negotiations are. So that's really critical in regards to maintaining that property.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It'd be a shame. I mean, it'd be a shame to lose it for a lot of reasons, public space, and then obviously the historic significance of that area. But yeah, thank you, Karen.
Any other questions or Francois, anything else you need from us right in the media? And obviously we look forward to seeing the grants and all the artists and everything, but anything you need
Yeah,
from us?
I don't think so. Like I said, if anybody knows any mural artists, just feel free to shoot me an email. But this is definitely some helpful feedback and ideas. And yeah, definitely going to keep updating the committee on our work and let you know what happens.
Thank you.
Sounds good. I will see you all later.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, Francois.
You know what, Karen and Mike, to your points around the artist names, it could be interesting if as the murals are created, we create some type of catalog or online, something online so people can go to the ANC website and see all the different murals and who the artists are and learn a little bit more about the inspiration and the
I
connection to the neighborhood.
I think that it would be also great if we could take photos of each one of the murals in the
Yeah.
area
Yeah.
and, like you say, link it to the artist bio to show the contributions that's happening. And that also will be connected with the businesses that's in the area as well. Because this is a community engagement committee, I think that offerings like the artwork, offerings like nonprofits in the area, as well as offerings of the businesses. I was thinking that we were going to eventually have that business directory because we had said that we were going to use a process of visiting and supporting each one of the businesses in the area. But I think that that connection, as you mentioned, Al, is a great idea to showcase the artists and any projects that are that's happening that really commits itself to just bringing vibrancy to the community. I think that's really important.
I to kind of build on that, I know a lot of the artists now, murals and outdoor installations are having a kind of QR code signature. And so that links back to their website, their bio and stuff like that. I don't know how hard it would be to create like something that would be like adhered to the wall, but it might be kind of cool to have like a QR code on each of the murals that would be linking back to the ANC 1B website. This is obviously a project and a half, and you'd have to get the artist's approval to do it. And obviously, they
Yeah.
would want to give you like the bios and like kind of the background history of the mural, like why it was important, kind of maybe their process in doing it, any interesting facts that might be of historic nature or just like design and implementation of the mural. But like it'd be kind of cool to have like a walking path of or walking tour through 1B of the murals.
Yeah, we have one of the ladies who does the Black Broadway tour. I She probably would be a great resource to connect with some of the hair since she's been really she's I know she did a book and she's also doing walking tours. I agree with you, Mike. The QR code is great. Um, and also that history of linking it to 1B in connection with the artist to sort of get it. It really helps to it helps with the infrastructure of showing how all the community is connected when you're doing that. I think that's an excellent idea, Mike.
Thank you.
I certainly want to hear what everybody else has to say, don't you, Al?
I do. I was just gonna say I was gonna agree with you, Karen, and I think I think the connecting it to to the tour, to the businesses, to the history of the area makes so much sense, and I think it promotes business and engagement, hopefully, with the community. And so I'm curious, like, are there other creative things we should be thinking about? Because I think, and I will tell you, as I talked to Francois and Suba last week, they're really excited and they're very energized. So I think any ideas that we can help or share with them, they'll be very open to as we pilot this and hopefully it's successful and we roll it out with other groups. But anyone else have any thoughts or feedback or ideas?
Nothing to add here. I'm just listening and agreeing and nodding.
Thank you.
We have the African American History Museum. I would connect it also to that. Ask them if they could make sure that all of the artwork that we have in the area, since we are the Black Broadway here, if they can
Hmm.
do a connecting point within their museum to this area. Um, After we do the catalog,
Yeah.
the catalog of all the artists, the different black businesses and stuff like that. I just think that it's really great because this is the history of Washington, D.C., and I think it's really important that we show that we are not dropping the legacy of understanding in that respect. So I think that that would be a great connection with the Smithsonian, you know.
I can take that away. Okay, back to my list. I'm just going to share my screen again, and then we can run through stuff. I'm not going to read through it, but do just want to share just to make sure everyone's aware of everything that's happening. Um, Farmers market. A little bit of progress. So the survey's finalized. I'm working with Karen in our ANC 1B office to create the actual survey that we can send out to everyone in the newsletter as well as via email. So hopefully that's coming later this week. But hopefully everyone had a chance to look at the questions. One thing that this was Xavier's idea, so I don't want to steal it, but was in the meantime, while we don't have an ANC 1B farmers market, making sure we're advertising and encouraging folks that are able and want to go to farmers markets, that they know the farmers markets that are available around the ward, and some of them are closer probably to some folks than others. But I did a quick search of the current ones. Mike also connected me with the Common Good City Farm that's on Wednesdays starting in May. And so was hoping we could share this with the ANC just so they're aware and know and can support them and hopefully meet some of the needs. Um, Karen.
Oh, I hit my my
Oh,
I was trying to zoom in. I hit my lower up my hand by accident.
oh no,
But
you're fine.
I'm in agreement with you. I really I this is again, Al. This is community engagement 101, making sure that everyone, and Zavi, that was an excellent idea, making sure that everybody knows how we are building a community, how we are community. So this is really important to show what other people are offering, and then in turn let them know what's coming soon into our area as well. So that's really really important.
And I think just personally, and I don't know if others are interested in joining me, um, as I was putting this together, I'm going to make a point because I've never been to the um, Adams Morgan one or the V Street one, but making a point to actually go and just see them and scope them out and see if I can even in person meet with some of the organizers at them to learn, so that I'm helping our committee and our ANC with this. So that's my project for the spring is to actually stop by each of these and personally engage.
I think that that's great because Al, one of the things that the outreach of that is a lot of the farmers do like to have more than one location too, just in case. Not that you're poaching any of those the vendors, but just like multiple opportunities to expand whatever it is that they're offering. You know, they want to get rid of their goods as fast as they grow them or however way they resource them. So that may be a great idea. Remember, we were supposed to be having our hand card. Have we? Do we have we actually, I don't even recall us actually deciding specifically what the card is going to be when we are going around and we're
Yeah.
giving out that particular information so that people will know what we're doing and then how to contact us, how to reach us, and especially the community engagement committee, since we're pushing out efforts throughout the area. And if you're going to travel out, people need to know
Yeah.
this. This was also the thing that we were supposed to be putting on our table when we are doing our tabling.
Exactly.
That's important. So I think if you could put that action item on the list for us to finalize that as soon as possible, so that when you do go to these locations, and hopefully you're taking pictures to sort of give us for our
Sure.
idea pool, how the layout should be, what should be workable. I had initially, this is in regards to location wise, I know they have the Sandlot area over at 7th and T, the whole 7th and T Street area, and they were having public safety issues, but it seems to be getting better in the area, and we're trying to re-energize that area, but it's still going through its public safety issue. But initially, the long term goal was to sort of have a little promenade area where people could possibly do some type of farmers market style vending and stuff
Yeah.
near the Wells Fargo bank. But again, I highly recommend the where the Reeve Center is, but I digress. We still
And
have to
I
find a location.
and I don't want to take away all the work that Zavi and Mike did and Nicholas have been doing. So we have a list. I don't know if everyone's looked at the spreadsheet, but we have a list of places we reached out to, got feedback, have a lot of things. And I think one of the things that we discussed in the beginning of the year was doing this survey so that as we reapproach folks to add markets or to potentially create a new one here in 1B, is that we have resident feedback to support it. Um, and I think to your point, Karen, around the giving something for someone, I think that's such a good idea. And I'm adding it back to the top of that list because I do think like whether it's going to the cleanup this weekend or me or any of us going to farmers markets or other community events that are happening, having something to give folks so that one, they know what we're doing, but then also they can get in touch with us with feedback and ideas. Mike, I see your hands up.
It's just kind of a piece of information. I don't know if Zabi and I shared it in too much detail when we met with Fresh Farm back in, I think it was like November or something like that, maybe even October. When we talked to the one of the coordinators over there, she had mentioned that because of the federal cuts, a lot of the dollars that they get from USDA to support programs were kind of like underwater or just no longer available. So what USDA did was that they provided dollar for dollar match for any federally funded nutritional assistance. So like EBT, SNAP, for WIC and stuff like that, the USDA would give dollar for dollar for that. And the whole idea was to support local farmers by increasing demand. So that one, it did like two great things. It allowed allowed more of the population to source healthier food, and two, it provided more income to local mom and pop farmers out there. Um, it got cut last year during the whole like chaos that was, Doge and whatever. Word on the street is it's starting to come back again. So hopefully, it'll probably be called something way different, but it'll be the same exact program. But it's kind of coming back because obviously it's a great program and they got politically involved, but hopefully it'll come back. And it was just kind of more of a reference point. But a lot of the grants, a lot of the programs that were under one branch of the USDA are now under another branch, and they're slightly called something different. So there's some navigating that the farmers are doing and that the farmers markets are doing in order to tap back into it. But more of an idea, because last year when Azabi and I talked to Fresh Farm, they pretty much told us that no one is opening up any new farmers markets because the economics were so uncertain because of all the cuts. So hopefully, there'll be some light at the end of the tunnel at the end of this year or maybe next year. But just wanted to kind of share what I'm hearing from two of the folks that I spoke to on that.
I Now, Mike, I had remember I don't know, Zavi, if you ever did get in touch with with Angela with Spice Suite, that she has a wonderful program that she has been doing with and it's over in Northeast, I know. And she set up the whole setup where she's doing farmers market, plus she's also adding a lot of other vendors and creating like classes and all types of beautiful offerings to help create a sustainable program. Did you ever get in touch with her? And I'm just hoping you did.
Hey Karen, we had them on the list, but it looks like we hadn't gotten to reaching out to them yet.
Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because that model that she has, that business model that she has, I think would be a sustainable model. It would definitely add into the way the community can be built up in this area. And it the funding and everything that Mike is talking about is built in it in a way because she has a tap in regards to making sure that there's a lot of funding sources that's available for the farmers of this nature or the vendors of this nature who really wants to work within those type of programming. So I think that not only is federal sourcing a great idea, as anyone would know, you have to have so many different streams of revenue for these type of programs. So I think that I certainly would suggest that you tap in with her, and she offers a lot of little free sort of little courses in which you can talk to her directly to sort of pick her brain to figure out how to move forward with certain things. So she might be a great resource for you to work with, Zavi, if you can. I think I would suggest that highly, you know, that you do that.
Thank you. Last time we ended on rank choice voting education, and I know I shared this a few weeks ago, but there are a number of sessions still scheduled. There's one, the next one in person is on Saturday at the Shaw Library. There's another one later in May. There's two in May, and there's also web options. And then I don't know if anyone's gone to the website, but there is a sample test as well as a short YouTube video that gives an overview. So there's lots of ways that folks hopefully are getting or they're able to access the training and the overviews of the choice ranking. So I don't know if anyone's checked that out or been to any of the training that has any feedback, but um, open to thoughts, feedback, questions. Karen, I see your hand.
I'm so sorry. My hand
No,
is
no,
just
you're
popping
good.
up all night. Only because, this is a passion project. The ranked choice voting is extremely important because we do have it's easy to get if you're somebody who likes to vote and you're like, okay, this is a new way, let me do this. It's not the bullet voting. But there's so many different resources, not just the Board of Elections, but you have a lot of places who are really trying to make sure that they're doing education for online. However, we do have a considerable amount of our population who are working all the time and they're
Yeah.
not doing this. And we have our senior population who I spoke to some people who are doing the education. They are going to the different senior locations and giving them ideas like bingo, using their grocery list as a way to as a way to learn about ranked choice voting, which
Uh-huh.
are great examples. However, the main concern is the people who want to vote, who said, and they need to know about it. I'm curious, what ways do you feel as though to sort of get that information out to folk? We did talk about canvassing the area, walking around the area and passing
Yeah.
out information. Um, I really want to see. because now we're going to see targeted information specifically from the people who are campaigning for their
Correct.
seat. But the education is really, really important. I haven't, the Board of Election has sent out a couple of little handouts. You know, I guess is limited, as Mike mentioned, budget wise. We know DC has had their budget scalped off of them terribly. So, Lord have mercy. But I just want to know, what do you think is a way that we can get the word out to the community members? Should we also, as we were talking about handouts, should we do an educational effort, or do you think it's enough to point people to the website? That's what I was curious from your point of view, Al.
I don't know if you can see my face, but I'm gonna be honest. Coming into this conversation, I was like, there's so much going on. There's lots of education, but if you don't have access to education, if you don't have time for it,
Exactly.
that's a barrier. The other barrier is if you are, everyone is busy, their life's moving. Does everyone know that June 16th is a primary?
June 8th is the starting point. June
Right.
16th
That
is
I have all that here. It's like the information's available, but how do we make sure people have it? I think
right.
it's a good question, Karen. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel like we should brainstorm in what role can we play? I know that from my understanding, if there's additional coaching training sessions that we want to hold, we can contact and request that. Um, I don't know if I guess there's obviously resources online that we can print out and hand out, but I guess the question is like, what what would be most effective and impactful?
Right, because one and also in May, the library is closing, because they're doing renovations.
Yep.
So that's not going to be a resource location. I think that we know we have we need to have places that we are in touch with people ages 18 and up, um, and in which we know that the schools, I know the schools had normally, their civic associations normally do some type of voter education. However, my concern is, like, we have all the people who maybe even surrounding our polling places who may can stop in and do their votes, but they're not even aware, but they're working, but they know they have to go vote. How are we talking to them? They're back and forth. Should we do something like a bus ad, or or some way that we can contact people via the metro? Local businesses. Is it possible to get information where people pick up their coffee or pick up their groceries? How are we getting the word out to these places? And stuff that people won't just throw in the trash as soon as they see it. There's a lot of different advertising, as you mentioned, barriers and issues and ways in which we can try to come up with something creative that people may listen to or may be interested in, so that they won't lose their voice. So I'm you just I'm it's so critical. This is the first time DC has done this. So I
Right.
really want people to, personally, I want people to know how critical this is. This is not something that is that is just your general voting process. This is brand new to Washington DC.
I'm gonna open it up to the group because I don't know the answer, but I guess I'm curious, and anyone can answer this question. What has ANC done, I guess, in the past to get the word? Like, obviously, it's a different process, but I guess just around like people knowing that the primary is happening. There's going to be like they should be registering to vote right now. Like, what role has ANC played, if any? Okay,
There was a reason why I didn't say that out loud.
got it. I guess the question is like, like thinking about is it 8 weeks, 11 weeks out? Like what? Or not even that long. It's like 8 weeks. Anyway, it's 2 months away. What what do we want to commit to, or what do we want to ask? Like we have our the next ANC meetings in 2 weeks. Like what do we want to be publicizing, communicating to the ANC? But then what do who and what do we want to do after that to make sure folks are registered, educated, and then have access to what they need to vote?
Now on the sidebar, I have been doing like little surveys to sort of get a temperature of the education of folk, and I've been going to various meetings to try to see what's going on, and so I'm asking those same questions outside of this particular space here, Al.
Mhm.
However, I you know, I just threw out a few suggestions as to the locations in which we can connect with people. It's just a matter of making it something that people don't want to throw away.
Right.
So the locations, as I mentioned, from our grocery stores, our businesses, coffee shops,
Yeah.
places that schools, places that people frequently touch, the metro. Um, those are the locations that you can connect with people that they truly are out and about. They're on their way to work. They're moving, and it and but the thing about advertising, you do not always want something that's going to be paper. I think that people like to use QR codes, but you have bus advertisements, you have street advertisements. You have a lot of different ways that you can get the word out. But people are just going to be inundated with a lot of the campaign ads. But
Yeah.
I if we see it's just as many ranked choice voting educational information as you see yard signs, I think that would be helpful. So maybe a yard sign, maybe some type of um, offering similar to you see what people posting them up. Maybe that may be helpful. It's annoying, but it may be helpful, or something that people can touch that they won't throw away. Um, those are I certainly would love to hear people's opinion as well.
I I think, and I don't want to, if anyone else has something to say, feel free to chime in. I think realistically, given that this is a 8 week turnaround time, we have to think in that lane. There's only so much we can do to get the word out to a quantity of people. And so we have to think about how do we touch as many people as we can to get the word out as soon as we can. My initial thought would be to rely on um, kind of general distributions, lists, people, contacts that already exist. And maybe what we can do is instead of being the institution or agency that actually does the promotion, we can probably empower a lot of the businesses through social media, or they can print up a flyer on their own, or we can drop it off. But we really have to rely on folks to say, hey, if you want to get the word about ranked choice voting, here's a template email to send out to your civic association. Here's a template to send out if you're a commissioner out to your ANC. Here's, business a social media post. Like, I think we have to think strategically if we want to get the word out to say, we have to we have to think about how do you get in touch with as many people as you can realistically, group of volunteers, limited time. And I don't think we're in a position, just being frank, that we're going to be able to create an ad space um, or a new online version of like how ranked choice voting goes. I think we have to point them to the Board of Elections. But I think it's important that we get, involvement of people disseminating the message, and providing them the tools and template to do it so that they can, easily do it. Um, I just don't think with the time and the resources and the dollars and just we're all volunteers that there's other maybe it's just me, but I think we just have to develop the templates and say, hey, commissioners, here's a sample template, revise it if you want to. Hey, civic associates, here's a sample template, revise it if you want to. Has all the dates, the links, the general information. I think people are going to be more apt to listen to that. And then also get in front of, like, we work with the LaDroit Park or LaDroit Apartments, who is a senior living center, and Commissioner Fay just met with the president over there the other day, and they're drafting a proposal of how to get the word out to their constituents. But I think we have to just develop a arsenal of tools and messages and rely on others to get it out.
That's a great idea, Mike. I think that relying on other people is important. The messaging charge would be that would be one. That's the online process. My concern is not online because that's really great and it's easier to push out. My concern was for folk who are moving and they're not online, and persons who are just not in a position to understand what's happening educational wise. There was I did go to our Ward 1 council member, and I asked her who does she think is people who are not being reached in regards to this. And she mentioned the senior population. She mentioned our immigrant population. She mentioned a lot of our African American population as being people who tend to be disenfranchised about these things, and that that they need to be heard. And so I think if we and then of course we know our young people, they're our newest voters, so we need to make sure that we're reaching them. We just found out that they didn't even know about the Department of Recreation's offering, so there's some disconnect, and so they're online all the time. So I think some of that in the face touch point marketing is what I was referring to. That's the reason why I said printing a yard sign or an educational tool that someone can see exactly how to do it. And if you do it very, very simply, so it's just not something that is a lot of information, I don't think that that should be a difficult thing. It's just a matter of printing it and posting it. That's what I was just thinking. So again, and it could
I,
be given to each one of the businesses.
sorry, Karen, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just gonna say I'm on their website and it looks, I don't know what they are, and I will email and follow up, but it looks like the DC Board of Elections, we can request materials um, that can be, it looks like it's a voter registration kit. I don't know what that includes, but it looks like they may have information that we could hand out, or to, I think both you, Karen, and Mike's point, give to others to disseminate. But I don't know what those things are, so I can find that out to see if it's the need that we just described. Um,
I think that would be great. That would be a starting point. But I guess in this realm, I always try to think that when we're pushing out information, are we trying to push it out where we have the ANC 1B signature on things? That's because the Board of Elections, they have their stuff. Yes,
right.
we can go get their information and distribute that information. But from the ANC 1B, is it important to have their signature on it? What's your thoughts? Because if you say ANC 1B is educating you about ranked choice voting, this is how you do it, and you have like a sheet or a yard sign that's, it doesn't have to be in a landscape, it could be a portrait one where you're just, it's posted somewhere so people know how to do it. um,
Yeah.
that's that's the important thing. I mean, you'd be amazed if you're standing at a bus stop. It only takes you a couple of seconds to scan something. If you're standing at the subway station, is and we can post things in a neighborhood under the ANC 1B understanding, because this is the jurisdiction that ANC 1B is under. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
I would, given that it's so new this year, and that it is ripe for confusion, my personal preference from a liability standpoint and from an educational standpoint is to rely that the department, the Board of Elections has the materials correct. They have it in English, Spanish, other languages, which we're obviously not going to be able to replicate.
No.
My preference would be to point people to the resources that the agency in charge of it has created.
Hmm.
Um, and then that way we're doing, again, like quantity versus like, kind of getting quality information out there. But, we're trying to do our best to at least do something given the short period of time. But my feeling was, Chair, if you want to take a look at what the Board of Education already, or Board of Elections already has, and
Yeah.
they might have a plethora of materials we're pleasantly surprised with. And it's just a matter of like, running to FedEx, making 100 copies, going down U Street, giving them to business owners to put at their front counters. It might be just encouraging people to do social media posts. They may actually have a bunch of stuff that would be good, and and then we can tackle maybe other ways to get in front of more disenfranchised population, so that maybe there's a different with senior living centers in communities like you know they're probably going to need X, Y, and Z a little bit more than, say someone who's 18 years old and on their phone all the time. So I think there's different ways to do it, but I'd be curious to see what they had and see how we can leverage that as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had looked at that the last time. Like we did look at that and put the information out there. I think they even I thought you had didn't you share that with Karen to put it on the ANC website too, Al?
I
I'm
believe
assuming that you did because I thought it
yeah,
was
it
part
should
of
be on the
our
website. I
yeah.
think that I think the interest, like, I agree with everything that's been saying, and I'm not trying to like dodge this. I feel like I do agree with Mike on the because I'm looking at the website and things that I didn't look at before, and I think there probably are some posters and things that we could request. And then I think to Karen, your point, how do
Hmm.
we make sure the most vulnerable people that may not be on their phone all the time, or even if they're on their phone, they're not looking at it, have access to it? Um, and I'll be honest with you, just thinking about my own.
Well, right, because I know a lot of the senior. Yeah, they won't do QR codes for some reason. I each time we explain to them over and over again how to
Yeah,
do the QR codes, and then it's been people who've been taking advantage of them through that process. So they have the different nuance. There's a lot of different nuance in that when you're dealing with the senior population, and in regards to people who are online. I think that there could be a little bit more education. I talked to the Department of the DC Board of Elections. I talked to them about how they're educating and what type of toolkits they should put out there. And they've made a lot of changes, which is really great, because they're constantly
yeah,
updating their information, and that's excellent. I just want to and Mike, I hear you because we're down to the wire, you know. And it's not the main responsibility of ANC1B. We can't push what's out there. However, I'm just only interested in connecting at this particular point. Not interested, but I just think that only interested. But
yeah.
just want to make sure that we're not overlooking a population of folks who are not being connected. That's it. It's not our responsibility, but it is our responsibility.
I understand. I get that, and I
So
guess
hopefully we can. There's a toolkit.
yeah, and I think to your point, Karen, I don't want the answer to be nothing. So, I know we're not going to solve world problems in the next 2 months, but making sure people have access and are aware of what exists, and what they do with it. Obviously, it's their decision, but making sure people know that there are resources and training. If there are questions, there are people that can support and answer. So,
And I completely agree with Karen and the fact that we want to get out in front of people that may not be aware of the new process or just not on their phone all the time. One thing we could always do, and you'd be surprised at the response, is always encourage, through all our stuff to encourage residents and neighbors to get with, people, get with their neighbors that may not know. And like you have to phrase it in a way that, um, encourages a positive outcome. But like, I would always leverage folks to say, hey, like, get with people in your community to let them know, especially those that may not be online, or may not be aware of the new changes, because I think a lot of, I always think the better of people. So I think a lot of people would actually take you up on that offer. Not everyone, but I think if we ask people to help out, you'd be pleasantly surprised at how many people would do it.
I agree with you. I just think it's if everyone who has a grandmother or a senior or they know seniors or someone, it's just each one teach one type
Yeah.
offering, and we just be a little bit more intentional, and so the activation and the motivation, as you mentioned, Mike, would be to motivate the folk who we do know, in the places that we do know, to sort of reach out to other people. And it's just about building that community voice. I think it's possible. I'm always optimistic when it comes to this. I just really want us to make sure that, as Al mentioned, to do the effort. It's part of our action planning. So I'm really happy. I'm excited to use the Board of Elections processing. I would like to see if they do have an example of what they're
Yeah.
offering. If they on their website, it's not.
It's
If
not
they're
clear.
too, if they have a toolkit, right? That's what I had asked them to do a toolkit as that would allow you to see specifically what they've developed because they have the budget to do that. That's their job. But we want to help them a little bit. That's all. But that was it. I'm so happy that you brought this forward, Al. Thank you. Thank you, thank you,
It's
thank you.
important. I agree it's important. And I'm going to be honest, I'm more now nervous about it than I was an hour ago, but I'm excited. I think we'll figure it out and work together. So I realize we're at time, and the only last few things is there's a few grants coming up for, as I mentioned in the very beginning of the meeting that weren't ready for today, and it sounds like Francois and Suba may be coming back to us with some mural requests. So I will make sure we get those to you guys before we vote and discuss them. But thank you for the time, and again, I feel like I owe a few follow up. I will send out. I know I put it in the chat, but I will send out the details on the RFK if you guys have battery or large items for cleanup, and then I will contact the Board of Education first, or excuse me, election first thing tomorrow to get some more details on what they have available. And then I'm also just gonna ask because I'm just gonna be honest with them of like, hey, here's what came up. How are you guys approaching this? Same questions that you had, Karen. So. I hope everyone has a good night and thank you guys for staying a few minutes extra and um, we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Al.